Here's what truly captivates me when it comes to retirement benefits. It isn't merely the calculations, it goes beyond the approach itself. What strikes me is how one of your life's most critical monetary choices barely registers as a choice until it suddenly confronts you. Around the time you reach 62, something subtle yet significant takes place. An opportunity appears. Most individuals fail to recognize that stepping through too soon or holding back too long will influence their remaining financial journey in unexpected ways. Let me share the challenging reality. Roughly 2/3 of people across America claim their retirement benefits at the earliest qualifying moment, 62 years old. This happens not because it consistently represents the wisest path forward, but simply because it appears most straightforward. It seems accessible, it seems deserved. The thinking goes, well, why wait? However, suppose I revealed that this apparently uncomplicated selection actually ranks among the most poorly comprehended monetary choices you'll encounter. The confusion doesn't stem from lack of effort to choose correctly, but from the program's inherent complexity. Professional advisors themselves frequently disagree. Money managers will present one perspective. Internet discussion boards will suggest something entirely different. The retirement agency even developed a computation tool meant to assist people through this choice, then discreetly withdrew it. The reason? Individuals were applying it improperly. Consider that carefully. An instrument created to shepherd people through a defining monetary determination grew so misapplied that authorities eliminated it. This reveals everything you must understand. We're not dealing with a straightforward, correct or incorrect selection. This represents a profoundly individual determination. My goal for today involves guiding you through this differently, not simply through calculations, but through understanding. Not merely through concepts, but through practical real-world reasoning. The inquiry isn't whether you should claim retirement benefits at 62. The genuine inquiry becomes when claiming at 62 truly serves your circumstances. Allow me to present a perspective that could transform your entire understanding. Picture your retirement benefit functioning like a water tap. Supporting that tap sits a pipeline, one you've spent your complete working existence filling. Every wage payment, every taxation withholding, everything contributes to building force within that pipeline. Here's the mechanism. The more extended your delay before opening the tap, the greater the force develops. Hold off until 70, the stream flows powerfully. Activated at 62, the stream runs lighter. Yet, here's the aspect most individuals overlook. That tap is yours. You funded it. If your delay extends too far before activation, portions of that resource never flow to you. It simply remains trapped in the pipeline, unutilized, vanished. No reimbursements exist, no additional opportunities. Therefore, the genuine inquiry transforms into when do you activate the tap so you genuinely utilize what you've accumulated. Before addressing the emotional dimension of this determination, we must establish something concrete. Let's examine the calculations. A mathematical truth underlies all of this that most individuals oversimplify. Consider someone, we'll name this person Pat. Pat dedicated a career generating respectable earnings, approximately $90,000 during the final employment year. Neither extraordinarily wealthy nor financially struggling, simply a standard hard-working professional. Pat now confronts three options. Filing for retirement benefits at 62 yields roughly $2,238 monthly. Waiting until full retirement age around 67 produces approximately $3,198 monthly. Postponing completely until 70 generates about $3,966 monthly. Initially, the answer appears self-evident, correct? Extended waiting, increased payment. Straightforward. However, existence seldom operates that straightforwardly. The genuine inquiry extends beyond monthly payment amounts. It concerns total lifetime collection. This is where circumstances begin shifting. Let's examine what professionals term break-even evaluation. This represents the fundamental calculation most individuals employ. Claiming retirement benefits early provides smaller distributions across more years. Waiting produces larger distributions across fewer years. Eventually, these two approaches intersect. That intersection point, usually occurring somewhere during your early 80s, represents where cumulative lifetime benefits split or balance out. Consequently, living beyond that point makes delaying advantageous. Living a briefer existence can actually deliver more accumulated funds through early claiming. Here's where matters grow intriguing. Most individuals assume life expectancy hovers around 79. However, that represents life expectancy from birth. Having already reached 62 without significant health complications changes the calculations. The retirement agency projects your life expectancy closer to 84. That's a substantial difference, completely altering the mathematics. Returning to Pat, if Pat claims at 62 and survives to 84, total benefit collection could reach approximately $615,000. Yet waiting until 67 actually reduces overall collection. Early filing could position Pat roughly $72,000 ahead. This surprises many individuals because prevailing wisdom conditions us believing waiting always proves superior. Here's the reality. Minor assumption modifications can completely reverse outcomes. Reduce Pat's life expectancy merely 3 years from 84 to 81, and suddenly waiting becomes preferable. Drop it to 78. Now the difference nearly vanishes and the optimal approach might actually fall somewhere between. Not 62, not 70, perhaps something like 65. This is where we must pause because this moment shatters the illusion. You believe this determination involves selecting the optimal age, but it doesn't. It concerns something far more uncertain. It involves not knowing your lifespan. No calculation tool, no computational program, no counselor can resolve that for you. That uncertainty represents the genuine variable. That constitutes the entire challenge. Now let's introduce something most individuals completely disregard. Price increases, or more precisely, the annual cost adjustment. Annually, retirement benefits adjust to match inflation. Here's where the mathematics becomes subtly potent. When your monthly benefit increases through waiting, your yearly adjustments also increase. It compounds. A 3% increase on 3,966 differs vastly from 3% on 2,238. Across time, that separation doesn't merely expand, it accelerates. Modeling this accurately shows the distinction between claiming at 62 versus waiting until 70 isn't merely tens of thousands. It can reach hundreds of thousands. We're discussing a potential distinction of $246,000 across a lifetime. That's not a minor discrepancy. That's a transformative figure. So you're likely thinking, understood, so I should simply wait, correct? Not quite. Existence isn't experienced through calculation tools. It unfolds through experiences, through wellness, through connections, through circumstances. Very genuine, very logical situations exist where claiming retirement benefits at 62 isn't merely acceptable. It represents the most intelligent action available. Not sentimentally, rationally, tactically, humanely. That's what I'll guide you through next. 7 circumstances where early claiming genuinely proves sensible. Not from popularity, but from correctness for the appropriate individual at the appropriate moment. Let's begin with the first, the one individuals hesitate articulating openly: your wellness or your ancestral background. Here's the reality we resist acknowledging. If your father died at 73, if your grandfather never reached 71, if you've already experienced a significant health crisis, then your timeline might not align with statistical norms. Those norms form the foundation most monetary guidance relies upon. Waiting for increased monthly distributions only functions if you survive sufficiently long for collection. Otherwise, you're abandoning value. Value you accumulated, value you purchased. This isn't negativity, it's practicality. In this situation, practicality isn't pessimistic. It's liberating because it enables making determinations based on your existence, not another person's forecast. Here's where the discussion begins transforming. Not every justification for early claiming involves risk. Some concern experiencing life. This introduces the second justification. You desire enjoying retirement while capability remains. Let me clarify this completely. This isn't a sentimental position, it's a functional one because retirement doesn't progress linearly. It advances through stages. There's what certain people describe as the active years. Early retirement when you're energetic, motivated, inquisitive. You journey, you discover, you accept opportunities you've delayed for generations. Then arrive the moderate years. You're continuing to live comfortably, but facing more constraints. Finally, the limited years, when your environment contracts, becomes calmer, grows more confined. Here's the inquiry nobody poses. Does $1 at 63 equal $1 at 83? Mathematically, certainly. Experientially, absolutely not. I encountered a narrative about someone who executed everything properly. He labored diligently. He accumulated resources intensely. He postponed satisfaction at every juncture. He stopped working during his early 70s, possessing more resources than he anticipated. Financially protected, ultimately liberated. However, within 2 years, his existence transformed into continuous medical consultations. The vitality he anticipated wasn't present. The expeditions he organized never materialized. The resources remained, but the existence he envisioned utilizing them for had transformed. That's not monetary disappointment. That's chronological misalignment. Sometimes the most intelligent monetary determination you can execute is synchronizing your resources with your existence, not merely your lifespan. The third justification, claiming at 62 can prove absolutely sensible, isn't solely about you, it concerns your family unit. Retirement benefits aren't merely an individual determination, they're a synchronized one. This introduces your partner. Justification 3, early claiming can activate partner benefits. Here's something remarkably few individuals completely grasp. If your partner didn't work sufficiently long qualifying for a substantial retirement benefit, or if their wages were considerably below yours, they might qualify for partner benefits, reaching 50% of your full retirement age benefit. However, there's a requirement. They cannot receive that benefit until you claim. Absorb that concept. You might be positioned there waiting deliberately, postponing your benefit until 70, because conventional guidance suggests this. Meanwhile, your partner receives nothing. 0. Not from disqualification, but because you haven't initiated the process. This is where the discussion transforms from what serves me to what serves our household. In numerous families, particularly where one individual dedicated years nurturing children or maintaining part-time employment, the earnings separation is substantial. Retirement benefits were structured to address that separation, but only through correct utilization. I've witnessed this situation materialize more frequently than you'd anticipate. A married couple consults with a monetary counselor. The higher earning partner receives advice. Postpone until 70. It maximizes your benefit. That guidance independently is technically accurate. However, nobody pauses asking, what about the partner position beside them? What about the years of earnings they're forfeiting? What about the complete household perspective? Zooming out, early claiming might not diminish your approach. It might genuinely enhance it. Let's advance into one of the most disregarded and honestly one of the most potent approaches in this complete discussion. Justification 4. Your partner faces a significant health situation. This is where retirement benefit planning stops being abstract and becomes intensely personal. Sometimes the determination isn't about maximizing earnings across generations. It's about managing a circumstance you didn't anticipate. Here's the mechanism. If your partner represents the higher earner and confronts a significant or terminal health situation, the mathematics transforms dramatically because, upon their passing, you qualify for survivor benefits. Those survivor benefits derive from their higher earnings, not yours. Now consider the approach. Rather than waiting, you claim your personal benefit at 62. You begin receiving something, your benefit, while your partner survives. Then, upon your partner's passing, you transition. You assume their larger benefit. What have you accomplished? You've secured earnings during a time frame where otherwise you would have obtained nothing. You've fundamentally established a transition, one protecting your monetary existence during an extraordinarily challenging emotional period. This isn't merely a monetary approach, it's a considerate one because it acknowledges something numerous plans disregard. Existence doesn't consistently follow the anticipated schedule. When it diverges, adaptability matters beyond optimization. Let's redirect because the following justification bears no connection to wellness and everything to do with circumstances. Justification 5. The investment market collapses. This represents one of those concepts that once recognized becomes impossible to ignore. Yet virtually nobody discusses it beyond sophisticated monetary planning environments. Picture yourself newly retired. You're depending on your investment collection to support your standard of living, and then unexpectedly the market plummets 40% or 50%. We've observed this previously, and we'll observe it repeatedly. Now you're positioned difficultly, you require earnings. However, generating that earnings demands selling your investments. Selling during a decline means confirming losses potentially requiring years, sometimes generations, to recuperate from. Financial professionals identify this as sequence of returns danger. It represents one of the most significant hazards to a retirement approach, not from market decline itself, but from forced withdrawals while it's declining. Here's where retirement benefits transform beyond merely a benefit. They become an instrument. Early claiming establishes a guaranteed earnings flow, a foundation, a cushion. You diminish or potentially eliminate the necessity selling investments at the most unfavorable moment. You're not responding to the market anymore. You're providing it duration, opportunity, a possibility to recuperate. There's an even more fascinating dimension to this. If you're not yet withdrawing from your collection and the market collapses, you can genuinely utilize your retirement benefit earnings to purchase into the market at reduced values. Consider that. You're fundamentally accepting government-supported earnings and investing it when holdings are reduced, when anxiety is elevated, when opportunity is maximum. That's not irresponsible. That's tactical. That's the type of action that appears self-evident retrospectively but demands perception in the instant. Now let's discuss something less apparent but equally potent: taxation. Justification 6. tax approach, and circumstances. This is where retirement benefit planning intersects with something many individuals misjudge: tax productivity. Here's the circumstance: reaching 85% of your retirement benefits can face taxation, but whether they do and the amount is established by your complete earnings. Now contemplate this: there's frequently a period in retirement where your earnings temporarily decreases. Perhaps you've stopped working, but you haven't begun accepting mandatory minimum withdrawals yet. Perhaps you're positioned between earning sources. Perhaps your taxable earnings is uncommonly reduced. That period represents an opportunity because initiating retirement benefit collection during that duration, your benefits might face minimal taxation or none whatsoever. However, advance several years, once mandatory minimum withdrawals commence, typically during your 70s, your taxable earnings rises, and suddenly your retirement benefits face taxation at increased levels. Therefore, claiming earlier, you're not merely receiving earnings, you're controlling your tax burden. You're distributing earnings across years more productively. That's something many individuals overlook because they concentrate on reception amounts rather than retention amounts. Now let's discuss the final justification, the one meriting maximum candor. Justification 7, you simply require the resources. No approach exists here, no enhancement, no calculation tool, merely circumstances. Existence occurs unexpectedly, unjustly, sometimes simultaneously. Medical expenses, employment termination, family obligations, economic transformations, circumstances you couldn't have anticipated and couldn't have arranged for flawlessly. During those instances, retirement benefits aren't merely a benefit. They're a protection system, a base, a program structured to assist you when necessity is greatest. Therefore, if you require the resources, accepting them is not an error. It's not disappointment. It's not compromising. It's utilizing the program precisely as intended. Sometimes the most intelligent monetary determination isn't the most enhanced one. It's the one providing you steadiness. Now let's consolidate all of this with a genuine existence situation, because this is where everything connects. Picture a woman. We'll identify her as Sandra. She's 62, recently stopped working. Her husband is 65. He possesses a higher retirement benefit, but also a significant cardiac situation. Sandra's benefit at 62, approximately $2,100 monthly. Waiting until 67, it rises to around $2,900, an $800 distinction. Theoretically, waiting appears the self-evident selection. However, here's what transpires. Her husband dies at 69. If Sandra had delayed claiming, she would have received nothing from her personal benefit for 7 years. Then following his death, she would transition to his survivor benefit regardless. However, instead she claims at 62. She receives her benefit for those 7 years. That accumulates to roughly $176,000. $176,000 that would have otherwise remained untapped, uncollected, vanished. When her husband dies, she converts to his larger benefit. That's the strength of circumstances. Not flawless circumstances, not forecasted circumstances, adaptive circumstances. To be equitable, absolutely situations exist where waiting proves more sensible. If you're in outstanding wellness, if you possess substantial reserves, if your partner also possesses a substantial benefit, if your collection isn't producing elevated yields, then postponing can function like a assured yield, sometimes matching 8% yearly. That's extraordinarily beneficial. However, now we arrive at the genuine inquiry. Not what's the optimal age to claim, but what's the optimal determination for your existence presently? Because this isn't a universal solution challenge, it's a profoundly individual formula. one incorporating your wellness, your family, your monetary situation, your circumstances, your objectives. Here are 3 functional conclusions to direct you. Initially, don't rely on a singular result. Execute your calculations, then modify your life expectancy by several years, positively or negatively. Observe how rapidly the optimal response transforms. If it reverses easily, that communicates something significant. No singular flawless determination exists, only a spectrum of logical ones. Subsequently, contemplate as a family unit, not an individual. If you're married, your retirement benefit approach is interconnected. Partner benefits, survivor benefits, circumstance determinations, they all influence each other, and disregarding that can expense you beyond your understanding. Finally, maintain adaptability. Your approach isn't permanent. If the market transforms, if your wellness modifies, if your earnings varies, those are indicators, instances to re-evaluate, not instances to rigidly maintain an approach established years previously. Perhaps the most significant element to retain is this. The retirement agency eliminated their personal calculator because individuals were treating an initial reference as a conclusive response. Don't execute that. Don't diminish this determination to a calculation, because your existence is greater than a calculation.